Hey everyone, this is a quick video just to show you some of the features that you can use on Desmos for importing pictures and then equations, folders, notes, things like that. I think most of you are familiar. If I just type some equations in like y equals 2x or y equals x squared, right? Plus 5, stuff like that. Um, and then I can drag this graph anywhere I want if I need to say things better or move them over, things like that. Um, so I would imagine if you've ever used Desmos before that that's probably about what you've done is just type in equations, drag the graph around, zoom in, zoom out, things like that. You can also here add a few other things. So I'm going to go to this plus sign up in this top left corner, and when I click that, you'll see several different options. So expression is the normal like equations that you type in. So that's just the mathematical stuff that you've probably always typed in. You can also add a note, so I'll go ahead and do that. So when I do that, I can just type whatever I want. You'll see the font has changed, so I'll just put this as a note. You can move that around, right? So I can um, drag on these and move stuff around if I want things in a different order. That will be important a little bit later when we get to some of the inequalities and shading and stuff. There are sometimes certain orders that you're going to want things in. I can also add, right, um, I can add another note, right, so I'll just put, this is another note, and we'll put one, let's say, above the line. Maybe I want my line first, my parabola second, and we'll organize it that way. So you can always just kind of move stuff around. So these notes are a good way to kind of organize, right? What comes after this note is one thing, and maybe I'll have several equations there, and after this other note is some other stuff, and maybe I'll have several equations there. You can also organize things into folders. So if I add tables are useful in some scenarios, they're not really going to be for this project, so I'm going to skip over tables. But folders are pretty useful. So if I click a folder, I'll just type in maybe lines, right? And then I can put anything into that folder by dragging, going slightly to the right until I see that vertical line show up that tells me this folder contains all of these things here. And then when I click that arrow, right, it'll either show or hide all the stuff in that folder. If I click this folder icon to the left with a circle around it, then it'll either show or hide everything in that folder. And so this is a good way of sometimes defining things that you want to use that you don't necessarily want to see, or just organizing things into folders where you can group and show and hide things like that, all the different elements that you're graphing. Now I will say Desmos currently does not support subfolders, so I can't put another folder inside that folder. So if I create another one, let's say we'll make another folder. Let's just say parabola. And we'll go ahead and put these in here. All right. So now those are two folders. But I can't put one folder inside another. So I can switch the order of the folders, right, one on top of the other, but I can't put one inside the other. And so that's just something to keep in mind if you were thinking about making a folder and then making more folders under that folder. That doesn't quite work. So there's only one level of folders you can use. You can use, though, the notes to organize things within a folder. So within this lines folder, I might put a note here and maybe several lines and then another note and then several more lines. So you can kind of organize things that way, but you just can't do folders within folders. All right, the last thing that we'll go through, and I'm going to go ahead and hide those, is importing an image, right? So If I click the plus, there's this image with that little mountain and sun picture right there. Click that and that will let you import an image. So it's going to take you to your kind of folder system, whether you're on a PC or a Mac, wherever that's going to go. And then you pick what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and save one first, and then we'll go ahead and put it in. All right, so let's find an image, and this part is probably an important part when you're searching for an image to import, is that you want to make sure that it's saved as a PNG, right? So a ping file, PNG, and I'm going to search for, let's say, cartoon, maybe Garfield, right? PNG. And you can pick whichever one you like, right? Your favorite one. So I'm just going to maybe pick this one right here. And I can right click and then save image as is what you're looking for. So save image as. And you want that save type to be PNG. If it's not PNG, Desmos may not import it and probably will not. So make sure that it is a PNG file. If it's not that type of file, you may have to find a different picture, right? So so keep that in mind when you're looking. A lot of times it's just good to go ahead and put that in the search when you're looking for stuff. I'll go ahead and save it into my downloads folder. So I'll just put it there. Save. And now when I go to Desmos, right, and I want to add, right, so add an image, go to downloads, and this PNG, right, clip art file, that's what I want. Open, right, and that'll put it right in there. So that's just something to keep in mind. If it has a background or weird stuff, that's okay. Mostly we're just going to be doing right the lines and some of the shading within a certain piece. Now when you import it, you do have some options. So your center right now is at 0, 0. You can move that around, right? So I can move that anywhere I want. But really 0, 0, 0 is a pretty good spot for that to be. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it right at 0, 0. And you can even type in, right, if you accidentally move it, you can type that in. Angle, this is going to be if you rotate your image. So if I wanted to rotate it, right, I could rotate it around. This is in radians, not degrees right now, but you probably are not going to want to rotate your picture, right? So we'll just leave that there. The width and the height, this you can change, right, just by kind of dragging it, scaling it. I do recommend dragging it by the corners. If you drag it by your sides, it'll just stretch it out, and that's not really what you want, right? So you do want to be kind of careful there. Go and change that back so it's original. But dragging by the corners will keep the scaling, right? So it won't, or not the scaling, but the aspect ratio. So that'll keep your aspect ratio the same. All right, the last thing I'll say is for our project, you're going to want to make it somewhat big. So you're going to scale it until you either get between negative 15 and 15 or negative 25 and 25, whichever happens to be bigger, right? So I think for this one, it's going to be the 15, right, up here, and negative 15 down there, right? So I can scale that. If I put in my height and my width, it would be 30, right? We'll go all the way to the 15, all the way down to the negative 15. And again, I don't want to drag that 15 all the way out to 25. Because then that would just stretch my picture out and make it look weird. So, so whichever comes first, either the 15 to 15 height-wise or the 25 to 25, right, width-wise, just scale it up so it will be that big. Part of the reason for that is just when we're creating our equations, we want plenty of room to adjust and do things like that. And it gets kind of tight if your picture is too small. So so we're going to go ahead and stretch it out to that. Um, Most people probably hit the negative 15 to 15 height range first, but if you have a really wide picture, it may go longer than that. So negative 25 to 25 if and that's just because of a lot of screen sizes. But if it's a really long picture, then you may hit that kind of cap first. So uh, I think that is it. Oh, opacity. I'll just talk about that real quick. So the opacity, you can put in anything between 0 and 1, and this basically is how see-through your image is. So if I put in, say, 0.5, I can still see the image, but it's kind of clear, transparent. And if I put in some lines, right, or parabolas, then I kind of see those over that. The order of things also does matter, so I'm going to change this back to a 1. Um, right now you can see the line, the parabola, and then the image. If I put the image on top, right, kind of goes there as well. So a lot of times it'll put some of these images behind your lines that you're graphing, or whatever shape it may be that you're graphing. Some of that will change as we go. So like I said, we'll talk about ordering a little bit later, but in general, things that come later will be placed on top of things that came earlier. There is one exception, that is some of these images. The last thing I'll say is if you hit the gear icon and then click on your image, there's some options. So this is always behind graphs because that check is placed there, placed behind graphs always. So that's there. Um, Clickable, right? You're not really going to need it, but this will um, kind of just tell you what you want to do if you click on something. So I'd just leave that off for our project. And then draggable. This is also going to be something where you can drag it around and stuff. That's not going to be ideal for our project. You want to make sure things stay in place. So you want to make sure that draggable is not checked. If you always want to put stuff on top of the graph, you can use that place behind graph. So that's okay. And then here's another place where you can change kind of the opacity to pick what you want. So this is sometimes useful if I'm trying to see if a line really fits, right? If I want to make sure that that line fits there and covers the right place, then sometimes it helps it to have it a little bit transparent, where I can sort of see what's going on with my main line versus the background line. So just make sure draggable is not checked, placed behind graphs. That's kind of up to you. If you don't have it checked, then whenever I go right on top of some of these, I'll go ahead and change my opacity back to 1. Right, so now I can see that picture is on top of the line, not behind the line. So that's not really going to be ideal for our project anyway. So I generally keep my picture at the top just so it is always underneath everything. But you can also use the setting, and I think it defaults to this, where everything is placed behind the graphs that you're going to use. So we'll go and call that done, and I'll go ahead and delete. Well, that's not what I wanted. So here's also something you may be interested in. Undo, right? So I want to undo. I see why I did it. Right now the center's at C1, right? So I kind of defined, I think when I hit draggable, that center at C1. I'm just going to reset that to 0, 0. Right. We'll delete that. Then I can delete that C1. So we just want that center permanently at 0, 0 for that guy. Then I hit done. All right. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of overview into importing an image. That is going to be our first assignment for this project, is to import an image, and you are going to share the link with me. When you sign in, I'll kind of cover that in another video, but when you sign in, you should see your name here, and that will let you save, right? So that lets me save my graph, so I can save this. And it also gives you this share feature. So I can share this graph and it'll give you a link, right? So I can just copy the link and then paste that into a message or a forum or assignment place that has a space for a link. So this is mainly going to be how you're sharing your project, is just hitting that share button, copying the link, and then sharing that link with other people. I think that's it for this video, and we'll see you on the next one.